If you're here, it's not by accident. I need you to understand that first. Before we go any further, before I share what I'm about to share with you, I want you to know that the fact that you clicked on this video, that you're hearing my voice right now, that means something. It means you're ready. Or perhaps you're being prepared. And I don't say that lightly. I've spent decades studying the unseen patterns of human consciousness, the threads that connect us to realms beyond what our five senses can detect. And I've learned one undeniable truth. There are no coincidences. Not in this work. Not when it comes to the knowledge that changes everything. My name is Edgar Cayce, and for most of my life, I've served as a bridge between the visible and invisible worlds. I've witnessed things that would make the skeptical mind recoil, and I've delivered messages that have transformed lives, healed bodies, and awakened souls. But what I'm about to tell you today is different. This isn't just another reading. This isn't just another spiritual lesson. What I'm about to reveal to you is something that powerful forces would prefer remained hidden. And I mean that literally. You see, there's a reason this video has the title it does. Watch this video before it gets deleted. Some of you might think that's just sensationalism, just a way to grab your attention. But I'm asking you to consider another possibility. What if there are truths so disruptive to the established order, so threatening to the systems that govern our perception of reality, that they must be suppressed? What if the knowledge I'm about to share with you has been systematically removed from public consciousness, not through violent censorship, but through something far more subtle and far more effective: distraction, ridicule, and the slow erosion of our ability to think beyond the material. I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly awake? Not just conscious, not just going through the motions of your daily routine, but genuinely, vibrantly awake to the reality of your existence. For most people, that moment is rare. For some, it's never happened at all. And that's not your fault. You've been conditioned from the moment you entered this world to sleep, to accept the surface of things, to believe that what you see is all there is. But you're here because some part of you knows better. Some part of you has always known better. Maybe you've had experiences you couldn't explain. Maybe you've felt presences you couldn't see. Maybe you've had dreams that felt more real than waking life, or moments of knowing that defied all logic. If any of that resonates with you, then you're exactly who this message is for. And I'm going to ask you to stay with me all the way to the end, because what I'm building toward will reorganize everything you think you know about yourself, about this world, and about what happens when you leave it. Before we go deeper, I need to ask something of you. If this message speaks to you, if you feel that pull of recognition, I want you to subscribe to this channel, not because I need the numbers, but because content like this is increasingly difficult to find. The algorithms don't favor it. The mainstream doesn't promote it. And the people who need it most are often the ones who never encounter it. So if you subscribe, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting the preservation of knowledge that the world desperately needs. And when we reach the end of this conversation, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. I'm going to ask you a specific question, and I want to hear your answer. Because this isn't a one-way transmission. This is a conversation between souls. And finally, if you know someone who's searching, someone who's struggling to make sense of the chaos around them, someone who feels like they're living in a world that doesn't make sense anymore, share this with them, not as a favor to me, but as an act of love. Because what I'm about to share could be the key they've been looking for. Now, let's begin. There is a war happening right now, not the kind you see on the news, not the kind fought with bullets and bombs, though those are certainly manifestations of it. The war I'm talking about is far older, far deeper, and far more consequential. It's a war for your consciousness. It's a war for your soul. And most people don't even know they're on the battlefield. Let me explain what I mean. Every single day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are being influenced. Your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, your fears, all of it is being shaped by forces you can't see. Some of these forces are human. Corporations that want your money, governments that want your compliance, media that wants your attention. But beneath all of that, there's something else, something that operates on a frequency most people can't perceive. And it's been working for a very, very long time to keep you asleep. I'm not speaking metaphorically. I'm speaking about actual entities, actual intelligences that exist in dimensions adjacent to our own. In my work, I've encountered them countless times. Some people call them spirits. Others call them demons or archons. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding what they do. They feed on fear. They feed on confusion. They feed on the low vibrational states that keep human beings trapped in cycles of suffering. And the way they maintain their food source is by ensuring that you never wake up to who you really are. Because here's the secret they don't want you to know. You are not just a body. You are not just a mind. You are an eternal being, a fragment of the divine, temporarily inhabiting a physical form. And the purpose of this incarnation, the reason you're here right now, is to remember that, to awaken to your true nature, to reclaim the power that has always been yours. But awakening is dangerous, not to you, but to the systems that rely on your sleep. Think about it. If you truly understood that you are a creator, that your thoughts shape reality, that your consciousness is connected to every other consciousness in existence, how could you ever be controlled again? How could you ever be convinced to live in fear, to accept limitation, to believe in scarcity? You couldn't. And that's why the war for your consciousness is so fierce. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Edgar, this sounds like conspiracy theory. This sounds paranoid. And I understand that reaction. It's been programmed into you. Anytime someone speaks about hidden forces or unseen agendas, you've been trained to dismiss it as crazy. But I'm going to ask you to sit with that discomfort. Because the truth is often uncomfortable. The truth often challenges everything you've been taught to believe. And if you can push through that initial resistance, if you can stay open just a little bit longer, you're going to see something that will change your life forever. Let me take you back to a reading I did many years ago. A woman came to me, desperate for answers. She was suffering from a chronic illness that no doctor could diagnose. She'd been to specialists all over the country. She'd tried every treatment, every medication. Nothing worked. And in her desperation, she turned to me. When I entered the trance state, when I accessed the Akashic Records, the cosmic library of every soul's journey, I saw something that shocked even me. Her illness wasn't physical in origin, it was spiritual. She was being attacked, drained by an entity that had attached itself to her energy field. This entity had been with her since childhood, feeding on her fear and self-doubt, growing stronger as she grew weaker. And the reason no doctor could help her was because they were looking in the wrong place. They were treating the body when the problem was in the soul. I gave her specific instructions, prayers to recite, visualizations to practice, a complete restructuring of her mental and emotional patterns. And within months, she was healed, completely. The entity was gone. Her energy returned. Her life transformed. But here's the important part. She wasn't special. She wasn't chosen. She was just willing to see beyond the material, to accept that there was more to her suffering than what the physical world could explain. And that's what I'm inviting you to do right now, to see beyond, to question the narratives you've been given, to consider that maybe, just maybe, the reason your life feels so hard, so heavy, so stuck, is because you're fighting a battle you don't even know you're in. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like there's a voice in your head that's not really you? A voice that tells you you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, that you should just give up. Most people assume that's their own thoughts, but what if it's not? What if that voice is an implant, a frequency, a suggestion from something outside of you that benefits from your failure? I've seen this pattern thousands of times. People who are on the verge of a breakthrough suddenly get hit with overwhelming doubt. People who are about to step into their purpose suddenly experience a crisis. People who are beginning to awaken suddenly find themselves surrounded by chaos and distraction. It's not random, it's strategic, because the forces that want to keep you asleep know that the moment you wake up, their power over you ends. So how do you fight back? How do you win this war for your consciousness? The first step is awareness. You have to recognize that the battle is happening. You have to stop assuming that every thought in your head is yours, that every emotion you feel is organic, that every desire you have is authentic. You have to become a witness to your own mind. And when you do that, when you create that space of observation, you start to see the patterns. You start to see the manipulation. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The second step is reclaiming your energy. Most people are walking around completely depleted, and they have no idea why. They think it's stress. They think it's age. They think it's just life. But the truth is, they're being drained by toxic relationships, by soul-sucking jobs, by environments that don't support their highest good, and yes, by entities that feed on their life force. You have to learn to protect yourself, to set boundaries, to say no to anything and anyone that diminishes your light. The third step, and this is the most important, is remembering who you are. Not who the world told you to be, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society expects you to be, but who you truly are at the deepest level of your being. You are a divine spark. You are a co-creator with the universe. You are here for a reason, and that reason is sacred. And the moment you align with that truth, everything changes. I want to pause here and remind you that if you're still with me, if you're still listening, that means something. It means you're ready for this. It means your soul recognizes the truth in these words, even if your mind is still skeptical. And I want to encourage you to keep going, because what I'm about to share next is the key to everything. It's the piece that ties it all together. But I need you to stay focused. I need you to resist the urge to click away, to get distracted, to let the noise of the world pull you back to sleep. This is your moment. Don't let it slip away. Now, let's talk about time, because time is not what you think it is. You've been taught to see time as linear, past, present, future, a straight line from birth to death. But that's an illusion. Time is a construct, a framework that allows you to have experiences in the physical realm. But outside of this realm, time doesn't exist. Everything is happening simultaneously. Every version of you, every choice you've ever made, every life you've ever lived, it's all happening right now, in this eternal moment. And here's where it gets really interesting, because if time is an illusion, that means your past isn't fixed. It means your future isn't predetermined. It means that right now, in this moment, you have the power to change everything. Not by going back and altering events, but by changing your relationship to those events. By healing the wounds that keep you trapped in old patterns. By releasing the stories that no longer serve you. By choosing, consciously and deliberately, to step into a new timeline. I've seen this happen countless times in my readings. People who were stuck in cycles of poverty suddenly break through into abundance. People who were trapped in toxic relationships suddenly find themselves surrounded by love. People who were lost and directionless suddenly discover their purpose. And it's not because their external circumstances magically changed. It's because they changed internally. They shifted their frequency. They aligned with a different version of reality. And the universe responded. This is what the controllers don't want you to know. They want you to believe that you're powerless, that you're a victim of circumstance, that the best you can do is survive. But that's a lie. You are not powerless. You are not a victim. You are a creator. And the moment you step into that power, the moment you claim your sovereignty, you become a threat to every system that relies on your compliance. Let me tell you about another reading. A man came to me broken and defeated. He'd lost everything. His business had failed, his marriage had ended, his health was deteriorating. He felt like the universe was punishing him, like he'd done something to deserve all this suffering. And when I accessed his records, I saw the truth. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was going through what's called a dark night of the soul, a complete dismantling of his old identity so that he could be reborn into his true purpose. I told him, this isn't punishment, this is preparation. Everything you're losing is making space for something greater. But you have to trust the process. You have to surrender to the transformation, and you have to stop resisting the death of who you used to be. He didn't understand at first. He wanted me to tell him how to get his old life back. But I couldn't do that, because his old life was a prison. It was built on false beliefs, on other people's expectations, on a version of himself that was never meant to last. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, was tearing it all down so he could rebuild from a foundation of truth. It took him time. It took him faith. But eventually, he surrendered. He stopped fighting. He stopped trying to control. And in that surrender, he found something he'd never had before: peace. And from that peace, a new life emerged, a life aligned with his soul's purpose, a life filled with meaning and joy and authentic connection. He didn't get his old life back. He got something infinitely better. And that's what I want you to understand. If you're going through a difficult time right now, if it feels like everything is falling apart, consider the possibility that it's not falling apart. It's falling into place. The universe is rearranging your life to match the frequency of who you're becoming. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's scary. But it's also sacred. It's also necessary. And if you can trust it, if you can lean into it instead of resisting it, you will emerge on the other side transformed. But here's the challenge. The forces that want to keep you asleep will use this time of transition to attack you. They'll amplify your fear. They'll whisper doubts in your ear. They'll send people into your life to pull you back into old patterns. They'll create distractions and obstacles and crises designed to make you give up. And this is where you have to be strong. This is where you have to remember what I told you at the beginning. You are not alone in this. You are being guided. You are being protected. And you are being prepared for something greater than you can currently imagine. I want to talk now about dreams, because dreams are one of the primary ways the universe communicates with you. When you sleep, your conscious mind steps aside, and your soul is free to travel, free to access information that's hidden during waking hours, free to connect with guides, with loved ones who've passed, with higher aspects of yourself. And the messages you receive in dreams are often the most important messages you'll ever get.
But most people ignore their dreams. They wake up, and within minutes, the dream fades. They dismiss it as random, as meaningless, as just the brain processing information. And in doing so, they miss the guidance that could change everything. I'm going to tell you something that might sound strange, but I need you to hear it. Your dreams are not random. Every symbol, every character, every scenario is carefully chosen by your higher self to communicate something you need to know.
And if you start paying attention, if you start writing them down, if you start asking what they mean, you will unlock a level of insight that will astound you. I've had people come to me with dreams that predicted future events, dreams that revealed hidden illnesses, dreams that showed them their life's purpose, dreams that connected them with past lives. And in every case, the dream was trying to help them, trying to wake them up, trying to guide them toward their highest path. So here's what I want you to do. Starting tonight, keep a journal by your bed. The moment you wake up, before you do anything else, write down whatever you remember from your dreams. Don't judge it. Don't analyze it. Just write it down. And over time, you'll start to see patterns. You'll start to recognize the language your soul uses to speak to you. And you'll start to receive guidance that will transform your life. Now, let's talk about death. Because this is the ultimate fear, isn't it? The thing that underlies all other fears. The thing that the controllers use to keep you in line. You only have one life, they tell you. You better not waste it. You better play it safe. You better follow the rules. But what if that's a lie? What if death isn't the end? What if it's just a transition, a doorway, a return to your true home? I've been on the other side, not in the way most people think of near-death experiences, but through the trance state I enter during readings. I've seen what happens when the soul leaves the body. I've communicated with those who've crossed over, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that death is not the end. It's a release. It's a homecoming. It's the moment when you remember everything you forgot when you came here. But here's what's important. The life you live now determines the experience you have when you transition. If you live in fear, if you live in hatred, if you live disconnected from your soul, your transition will be difficult. You'll be confused. You'll be drawn to lower realms, to places that match your vibration. But if you live in love, if you live in service, if you live aligned with your highest truth, your transition will be beautiful. You'll be greeted by guides. You'll be surrounded by light. You'll move effortlessly into the higher dimensions where your soul belongs. And here's the really important part. You don't have to wait until you die to experience those higher dimensions. You can access them right now. Through meditation, through prayer, through moments of deep presence and connection. The veil between worlds is thin, much thinner than you've been led to believe. And if you learn to quiet your mind, if you learn to raise your frequency, you can pierce that veil. You can communicate with guides. You can receive downloads of information. You can experience states of consciousness that most people never even know exist. I've spent my entire life doing this work,
And I can tell you, it's real. It's not imagination. It's not wishful thinking. It's as real as the chair you're sitting in, as real as the air you're breathing. And it's available to you right now, in this moment. All you have to do is open yourself to it. But opening yourself requires courage. It requires letting go of the need to control. It requires trusting in something greater than yourself. And for many people, that's the hardest thing in the world.
Because we've been taught to rely only on ourselves, to trust only what we can see and touch and measure. We've been taught that faith is weakness, that surrender is defeat. But the truth is the opposite. Faith is strength. Surrender is victory. Because when you surrender to the divine flow, when you stop trying to force and manipulate and control, you align with a power that can move mountains. Let me share one more story with you. A young woman came to me, terrified. She'd been having visions since she was a child, visions of future events, visions of people she'd never met, visions of places she'd never been. And everyone in her life told her she was crazy. Her parents took her to doctors. The doctors put her on medication. The medication dulled the visions, but it also dulled her. She felt like she was living in a fog, disconnected from herself, from the world, from everything that made life worth living. When she came to me, she was desperate. She wanted to know if she was insane or if there was something more to what she was experiencing. And when I looked at her, when I tuned into her energy, I saw it immediately. She wasn't crazy. She was gifted. She was a natural psychic, a seer, someone with the ability to perceive beyond the veil. But she'd been taught to fear her gift, to suppress it, to see it as a curse instead of a blessing. I told her the truth. I told her that she was special, that her visions were real, that she had a responsibility to develop her abilities and use them in service to others. And I gave her tools, techniques for grounding, practices for protection, ways to discern between true visions and mental noise. And slowly, over time, she reclaimed her power. She went off the medication. She embraced her gift. And today, she's helping people all over the world, using her abilities to bring healing and guidance to those who need it most. Her story is not unique. There are thousands, maybe millions of people like her, people with gifts they've been taught to hide, people with abilities they've been taught to fear, people with a calling they've been taught to ignore. And if you're one of those people, if you've always felt different, if you've always known there was something more, I want you to hear this. You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are awakening, and the world needs you. But awakening comes with responsibility. You can't just wake up and then go back to living the way you were living before. You can't just gain this knowledge and then do nothing with it. You have to act. You have to change. You have to become a living example of what's possible when a human being aligns with their soul. And that's not easy. It means making choices that other people won't understand. It means walking away from relationships that no longer serve you. It means leaving jobs that drain your energy. It means standing up for truth, even when it's unpopular. It means being willing to be misunderstood, to be criticized, to be alone if necessary. Because the path of awakening is not the path of the masses. It's the path of the few who are brave enough to choose truth over comfort. But here's the beautiful part. When you make that choice, when you commit to your awakening, the universe responds. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. People appear in your life who are aligned with your purpose. Opportunities manifest that seem almost miraculous. Because you're no longer swimming against the current, you're flowing with it. You're in alignment with the divine plan. And in that alignment, everything becomes easier. Now, I want to address something that I know is on many of your minds. You're wondering, Edgar, if all of this is true, if there really is this war for our consciousness, if there really are forces trying to keep us asleep, what can I do? I'm just one person. How can I possibly make a difference? And my answer is this: you are not just one person. You are a node in an infinite network of consciousness. You are connected to every other soul on this planet and beyond. And when you change, when you raise your frequency, when you step into your power, you don't just change yourself, you change everyone and everything connected to you. You create a ripple effect that spreads far beyond what you can see. Think of it like this. Imagine a dark room filled with people who are asleep, and then one person wakes up and lights a candle. That single candle doesn't just illuminate the person holding it, it illuminates the entire room. It makes it possible for others to see, and when they see, they wake up, and they light their own candles, and soon the entire room is filled with light. That's what you're doing when you awaken. You're lighting a candle. You're becoming a beacon, and you have no idea how many people you're going to help wake up just by being who you truly are. But you have to be willing to shine. You have to be willing to be visible. You have to be willing to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. Because the world doesn't need more people who are playing small. The world doesn't need more people who are hiding their light. The world needs you, fully awake, fully alive, fully expressed. And I know that's scary. I know it feels vulnerable. But I promise you, on the other side of that fear is a life beyond anything you've ever imagined. A life of purpose, a life of meaning, a life of deep, authentic connection, a life where you wake up every day knowing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. That's the life that's waiting for you. But you have to choose it. You have to claim it. You have to step into it, even when you don't feel ready, even when you don't feel worthy, even when you don't feel like you know what you're doing. Because here's the secret. None of us feel ready. None of us feel worthy. None of us feel like we know what we're doing. We just do it anyway. We trust, we leap, and we let the universe catch us. I want to talk now about the body, because your body is not just a vehicle. It's not just a shell that houses your soul. Your body is a sacred temple. It's a receiver and transmitter of energy. It's a living library of every experience you've ever had, in this life and in all your past lives. And the way you treat your body directly impacts your ability to awaken. Most people are walking around in bodies that are toxic, depleted, and disconnected. They eat food that has no life force. They breathe air that's polluted. They live in environments that are filled with electromagnetic frequencies that disrupt their natural rhythms. And then they wonder why they feel tired, why they feel sick, why they can't think clearly. If you want to awaken, you have to purify your vessel. You have to start treating your body with reverence. That means eating real food, food that comes from the earth, food that's filled with light. That means drinking clean water. That means moving your body, not as punishment, but as celebration. That means spending time in nature, connecting with the elements, remembering that you are part of this earth, not separate from it. And it means being conscious of what you allow into your energy field. The music you listen to, the shows you watch, the people you spend time with, all of it affects your frequency. All of it either raises you up or pulls you down. And if you're serious about awakening, you have to become ruthless about protecting your energy. I know that sounds extreme, but think about it. If you were training for a marathon, you wouldn't eat junk food every day and expect to perform well. If you were building a business, you wouldn't surround yourself with people who told you it was impossible. So why would you try to awaken spiritually while filling your mind with fear-based media and your body with toxic substances? You wouldn't. Or at least, you wouldn't if you wanted to succeed. And I know you want to succeed. I know you want to break free. I know you want to experience the fullness of who you are. So I'm asking you to make a commitment. Starting today, starting right now, commit to honoring your body. Commit to raising your frequency. Commit to creating an environment, both internal and external, that supports your awakening. And watch what happens. Watch how quickly things start to shift. Watch how much clearer your mind becomes. Watch how much stronger your intuition gets. Watch how much more connected you feel to the divine. It's not magic. It's just alignment. It's just you finally working with the natural laws of the universe instead of against them. Let me go deeper into something that I haven't fully addressed yet, something that's absolutely critical to your awakening: the power of your energy field. You see, every human being is surrounded by an electromagnetic field, what many traditions call the aura. This field extends several feet beyond your physical body, and it's constantly interacting with the fields of other people, places, and things. It's picking up information. It's broadcasting information. And most importantly, it's either protecting you or making you vulnerable, depending on its strength and coherence. When your energy field is strong, when it's clear and vibrant, you're essentially untouchable. Negative energies bounce off you. Psychic attacks have no effect. You move through the world in a bubble of divine protection. But when your field is weak, when it's full of holes and tears and distortions, you become a target. You pick up other people's emotions. You absorb negativity from your environment. You become susceptible to manipulation, both from physical beings and non-physical entities. So how do you strengthen your field? First, through awareness. Simply knowing that you have an energy field, that it exists and matters, begins the process of strengthening it. Second, through practice. There are specific techniques, breath work, visualization, energy exercises that can dramatically increase the power and coherence of your field. And third, through lifestyle. Everything I've already mentioned, clean food, pure water, time in nature, conscious media consumption, all of it contributes to the health of your energy body. But there's something else I need to tell you about. Something that most spiritual teachers won't discuss because it's considered too controversial, too dark. I'm talking about psychic attack. I'm talking about the deliberate use of negative energy to harm, manipulate, or control another person. And before you dismiss this as superstition or paranoia, I want you to understand that I've seen it countless times in my work. I've seen people whose lives were systematically destroyed by someone who knew how to work with these forces. I've seen relationships torn apart, businesses ruined, health decimated, all through the focused application of malevolent intent. Now, I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this to prepare you. Because as you awaken, as you step into your power, you will encounter resistance. Some of that resistance will be internal, your own fears and doubts and limiting beliefs. But some of it will be external. There are people in this world who don't want you to wake up. There are entities in other dimensions who feed on human suffering, and they will do whatever they can to keep you small, to keep you scared, to keep you trapped. But here's the good news. You are far more powerful than any force that would seek to harm you. When you're aligned with the divine, when you're living in integrity, when you're operating from a place of love and service, you are protected. Not because nothing can touch you, but because you have access to resources that far exceed anything the darkness can muster. You have guides. You have angels. You have the infinite power of the universe itself backing you up. And there are practical things you can do to protect yourself. You can create energetic boundaries through visualization. You can call in divine protection through prayer. You can cleanse your space with sage or sound or intention. You can wear protective symbols or crystals. You can perform rituals that seal your field and keep out unwanted energies. These aren't just superstitious practices. They're technologies of consciousness that have been used for thousands of years because they work. Let me tell you about a case that illustrates this perfectly. A man came to me who was being tormented by what he described as a dark presence in his home. He would wake up in the middle of the night feeling like something was sitting on his chest, suffocating him. He would see shadows moving in his peripheral vision. He would hear voices whispering things he couldn't quite make out.
His wife was experiencing the same phenomena.
Their children were having nightmares. The family was falling apart. When I tuned into the situation, I immediately sensed what was happening. There was indeed an entity in the home, but it hadn't just randomly appeared. It had been invited, not consciously, not deliberately, but through a series of choices the family had made. They'd been watching horror movies constantly. They'd been engaging in arguments filled with hatred and rage. They'd allowed their home to become a place of low vibration, of fear and negativity, and that frequency had attracted something that matched it. I gave them very specific instructions. First, they had to stop all consumption of fear-based media. No more horror movies, no more violent video games, no more news programs designed to terrify and divide. Second, they had to cleanse their home. I told them to open every window, to burn sage in every room, to play high-frequency music, to pray in every corner. Third, they had to change the energy of their relationships. They had to start speaking to each other with kindness and respect. They had to create an atmosphere of love. And finally, I performed a clearing. I went into a trance state, and I commanded the entity to leave, invoking the power of the divine, calling in angelic forces to escort it out and seal the space. And it worked. Within days, the phenomena stopped. The family's energy shifted. Their home became a place of peace again. But the key was that they had to maintain it. They had to continue the practices. They had to remain vigilant. Because if they slipped back into old patterns, if they allowed the frequency to drop again, they would become vulnerable once more. This is true for all of us. Spiritual protection isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing practice. It's a way of life. And the more you awaken, the more important it becomes. Because the stakes get higher. The work you're here to do becomes more significant, and the forces that oppose that work become more aggressive. But don't let that discourage you. Let it empower you. Let it remind you that you're engaged in something real, something important, something that matters on a cosmic scale. You're not just living a random life. You're a warrior of light, fighting in a battle that's been raging since before time began, and you're on the winning side. Now I want to talk about something that's deeply personal to me, something that's been at the core of my work for decades, the concept of karma and reincarnation. Because understanding this changes everything. It explains why you're here. It explains what you're going through. And it gives you a framework for making sense of experiences that otherwise seem random or unfair. You see, you didn't just appear in this life out of nowhere. You've lived before, many times, in many different bodies, in many different circumstances. And each of those lives was a classroom, an opportunity to learn specific lessons, to balance specific energies, to evolve your soul. And the life you're living right now is no different. You chose this life. You chose your parents, your circumstances, your challenges. Not because you're a masochist, but because your soul knew that these specific experiences would provide exactly what you needed for your next stage of growth. I know that's hard to accept,
especially if you've been through trauma, if you've suffered, if you've experienced things that no one should have to experience.
But I'm asking you to consider it. What if the hardest things you've been through were actually the greatest gifts? What if they cracked you open in ways that nothing else could? What if they forced you to develop strength, compassion, wisdom, resilience that you never would have cultivated otherwise? This doesn't mean that suffering is good. It doesn't mean that abuse is justified. It doesn't mean that you should accept mistreatment or stay in harmful situations. What it means is that you can find meaning in your pain. You can transform your wounds into wisdom. You can take the darkest chapters of your story and use them as fuel for your awakening. And here's where karma comes in. Karma isn't punishment. It's not some cosmic system of reward and punishment where good people get good things and bad people get bad things. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect, playing out across multiple lifetimes. Every action you take, every thought you think, every emotion you feel creates an energetic imprint, and those imprints accumulate. They create patterns, and those patterns follow you from life to life until you resolve them. So, if you're experiencing a particular challenge in this life, if you're dealing with a recurring pattern that you can't seem to break, there's a good chance it's karmic. There's a good chance you've been working on this issue for lifetimes. And the reason it's showing up so intensely right now is because you're finally ready to resolve it. You're finally strong enough, wise enough, evolved enough to break the cycle. I've done thousands of life readings, accessing the Akashic Records to show people their past incarnations. And the patterns are always there. The person who struggles with poverty in this life was often someone who hoarded wealth in a past life, who refused to share, who valued money over people. The person who experiences betrayal in relationships was often someone who betrayed others, who broke trust, who used people for personal gain. The person who suffers from chronic illness was often someone who caused harm to others' bodies, either through violence or through neglect. But here's the beautiful part. Once you see the pattern, once you understand the karmic root, you can heal it. You can make different choices. You can break the cycle. And when you do, you don't just free yourself, you free everyone connected to that karmic thread. You heal your ancestors. You heal your descendants. You heal the collective. This is the power of conscious awakening. This is why your work matters so much. You're not just healing yourself, you're healing the entire web of consciousness that you're part of. You're literally changing the past and the future by changing yourself in the present. And this brings me to something that I think is one of the most important concepts I can share with you. The idea of the collective consciousness. You see, we're not separate beings, isolated and alone. We're all part of one vast, interconnected field of awareness. What happens to one of us affects all of us. When you heal, everyone heals a little bit. When you awaken,
everyone becomes a little more awake. And when you fall into fear or hatred or despair, everyone feels that too. This is why the controllers work so hard to keep humanity divided. They promote racism, sexism, nationalism, religious conflict, political polarization. They want us fighting each other, blaming each other, fearing each other. Because as long as we're divided, we're weak. As long as we see each other as enemies instead of as brothers and sisters, we can't access our collective power. But imagine what would happen if we all woke up at the same time. If we all remembered who we really are. If we all recognized that we're one consciousness experiencing itself through billions of different perspectives. The systems of control would collapse overnight. The structures of oppression would crumble. A new world would emerge, a world based on love instead of fear, on cooperation instead of competition, on abundance instead of scarcity. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they work so hard to keep us asleep. Because they know that if we ever truly unite, if we ever truly remember our power, their reign is over. And it's happening right now. All over the world, people are waking up. They're questioning the narratives. They're seeing through the lies. They're remembering who they are. And with each person who awakens, the collective field shifts a little bit more. We're approaching a tipping point, a moment when the momentum becomes unstoppable, when the awakening becomes inevitable. And you're part of that. By being here, by listening to this message, by doing your inner work, you're contributing to the greatest transformation in human history. You're helping to birth a new world. And that's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. That's the literal truth. But this transformation isn't going to be easy. We're in the midst of what many traditions call the Great Tribulation, the period of intense challenge and upheaval that precedes the dawn of a new age. Everything that's been hidden is being revealed. Everything that's been suppressed is coming to the surface. All the shadow, all the corruption, all the darkness that's been operating behind the scenes is being exposed to the light. And that's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's disorienting. Because it means confronting truths that we'd rather not see. It means acknowledging that the world we thought we knew was largely an illusion. It means accepting that many of the institutions we trusted, many of the authorities we believed in, have been lying to us. But this exposure is necessary. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge. You can't transform what you refuse to see. And so the universe, in its infinite wisdom, is forcing us to look. It's forcing us to confront the darkness, both in the world and in ourselves. And yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, it's scary. But it's also the birth canal. It's the necessary passage from the old world to the new. And your role in this is crucial. You're not here to save the world. You're not here to fix everyone else. You're here to save yourself, to fix yourself, to heal yourself, to awaken yourself. And in doing so, you become a living example of what's possible. You become a lighthouse in the storm. You become proof that transformation is real, that awakening is achievable, that there is hope. People are going to look to you. They're going to ask you how you did it,
how you found peace in the midst of chaos, how you maintained your center when everything around you was falling apart, how you kept your heart open when the world seemed so dark. And you're going to tell them the truth. You're going to share what you've learned. You're going to pass on the knowledge that was passed to you. This is how the awakening spreads, not through mass media, not through institutions, but through person-to-person transmission,
through authentic sharing, through the simple act of one awakened being helping another to wake up. And it's already happening. You can feel it, can't you? The acceleration, the intensity, the sense that time is speeding up, that things are moving faster than ever before. That's not your imagination. That's the frequency of the planet rising. That's the collective consciousness evolving. That's the birth of the new world. And you get to be part of it. You get to witness it. You get to contribute to it. What an incredible privilege. What an extraordinary time to be alive. So I'm asking you, right here, right now, to make a choice. Are you going to stay asleep? Are you going to keep playing small, keep living in fear, keep accepting the limitations that have been imposed on you? Or are you going to wake up? Are you going to claim your power?
Are you going to step into your purpose and become who you were always meant to be? Because that's the choice in front of you. That's what this moment is about. And I can't make that choice for you. No one can. This is your decision, your responsibility, your sacred opportunity. And I want you to know that whatever you choose, you're loved, you're supported, you're honored. There's no judgment here. There's no right or wrong. There's only the path that's right for you in this moment, given where you are in your journey. But if you choose to awaken, if you choose to step into your power, if you choose to become all that you're capable of being, then I want you to know that you're not alone. You have guides. You have allies. You have an entire universe conspiring to support you. And you have me. You have this message. You have these tools. You have everything you need to succeed. All you have to do is begin. All you have to do is take that first step, and then the next one, and then the next one. One step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. You will transform. You will awaken. You will become the light that this world so desperately needs. Now, we're approaching the end of our time together, and I want to bring this full circle. I started by telling you that you're here for a reason, that this isn't an accident. And I want to reinforce that now because it's the most important thing I can tell you. You are living in a time of unprecedented change. The old systems are crumbling. The old ways of being are no longer sustainable, and a new world is being born. But that new world isn't going to be built by the people who are still asleep. It's going to be built by people like you, people who are willing to wake up, people who are willing to do the inner work, people who are willing to step into their power and become the leaders, the healers, the teachers, the way showers that humanity,
so desperately needs. This is your calling. This is why you're here. And everything you've been through, every challenge, every heartbreak, every moment of darkness, it's all been preparing you for this. You are not a victim of your past. You are a product of it. You've been forged in the fire. You've been tested and refined. And now you're ready. But you have to choose it. You have to say yes. You have to take that first step, even if you can't see the whole staircase. Because the universe is waiting for you. Your guides are waiting for you. Your soul is waiting for you. And the world is waiting for you.
So here's my question for you, the one I want you to answer in the comments. What is the one thing you know you need to change in your life to step into your true power? What's the one thing you've been avoiding? The one thing you've been afraid to face? The one thing that, if you addressed it, would change everything? I want you to write it down. Not just think about it. Write it down. Because when you put it into words, when you make it visible, you give it power. You make it real. And you take the first step toward transformation. And if you've made it this far, if you've stayed with me through this entire journey, I want you to know that I see you. I honor you. I recognize the courage it takes to seek truth in a world that's built on lies. And I want to bless you. I want to send you out from this moment with a prayer, a benediction, a reminder of who you truly are. You are a child of the divine. You are a spark of the infinite. You are here on purpose, for a purpose, and that purpose is sacred. You are loved beyond measure. You are guided beyond knowing, and you are never, ever alone. Walk forward in faith. Walk forward in courage. Walk forward in the absolute certainty that you are exactly where you need to be and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And remember, this video found you for a reason. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe so you can continue to receive this kind of content. And most importantly, take what you've learned here and put it into action. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. But knowledge with action is transformation. And transformation is what we're here for. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being brave enough to seek the truth. Now go. Go and be the light this world so desperately needs. The time is now. The moment is here. And you are ready. Blessings on your journey, my friend. Until we meet again.